Hello! Welcome to By Lore and Lamplight. I'm Davin, storyteller and magician. I hope you have a good cup of tea and pull up your most comfy chair. Tonight's story is The Ogre of Hollow Hill. Let's get started. In the days when roads were little more than muddy ribbons connecting villages, there was a hill on the edge of the wildwood where no shepherd dared to graze their flock. It was a good green hill, rich in clover, but an ogre lived underneath it. The ogre's name was Brambletooth, for his beard was a tangle of thorns and his teeth could shear through the trunk of a young oak in a single bite. By day he slept in a cavern under the hill, and by night he'd come out in search of the scent of bread, butter, and fear. Now for years he'd left the villagers alone, thanks to an agreement that the villagers leave him a bowl of milk, a bit of food, or some spare coins on the stone at the base of the hill each full moon. But this past winter had been unusually harsh, leaving the fields bare and the granaries low. Hunger gnawed at every door, even the ogre's. Brambletooth's bowl of milk had gone forgotten for 2 full moons, and as the ogre grew in hunger and restlessness, even a bowl of milk would not have satiated the empty ache inside him. But he wasn't a mindless beast. He had been watching the villagers with a sharp eye and keen senses. One stood out to him, a boy named Lark, who was quick of foot and curious and often wandered into the forest alone farther than he should. To the ogre, the boy smelled of wildflowers, fresh baked bread, and untamed courage of youth, a venerable feast for the ogre's gnawing hunger and a suitable punishment for their forgotten promise. That night, as the village slept under a blanket of stars and a wind whispered through the trees, Lark laid awake listening to the distant howls of wolves and the creak of the old woods. And suddenly a cold shadow fell across his floor, an immense figure wrapped in darkness. Before Lark could call out, he was seized by rough, gnarled hands like old roots and lifted high into the air. He thrashed and beat, but to no avail, for the ogre's grip was like iron bands. In one sad, desperate look, he watched as his home disappeared, and the ogre took him into the night and the blackness of Hollow Hill. Now, despite the ogre's gnawing hunger, he couldn't eat the boy right away. You see, ogres cannot feast upon the flesh of those that still have the spark of courage and cunning within them. And so he locked the boy up under the hill in the hopes that his spirit would soon break and the villagers would remember their forgotten promise. By morning, all that was left was a trail of broken clover crushed under the heavy boots of the ogre that led up to the hill, and to a village awakening to grief. Mara, Lark's mother, upon realizing what had happened, wailed and cried. She begged the villagers to form a group and make an attempt to rescue her son, but the elders forbade it, saying, "An ogre's hunger is not easily turned, and it is better to mourn the loss of one than the loss of many in a rescue attempt." Well, Mara was not about to give up or take no for an answer. So she came up with a cunning plan, and at dusk she hiked to the hill, not with a sword, but with a basket. And in the basket was a single loaf of bread, and in that bread, hollowed out, filled with hot coals. She placed the basket on the offering stone and hid herself nearby. And when the moon rose, Brambletooth came lumbering out, drool dripping from his jowls. He scented the air. He spied the basket and he rushed over, ripped off the top, grabbed the loaf of bread, and in one big mighty chomp, he swallowed it whole. Oh, did he howl then! The leaves came pouring down from the trees, and as the coals sizzled and popped and sizzled inside him, he began to thrash and stomp and thrash so hard and loud that Hollow Hill burst open. Out poured bones and treasures, and to Mara's delight, her boy, blinking and alive, and smelling faintly of turnips. Well, the ogre, cursing the clever widow's name, retreated to the forest, and as the woods closed behind him, the echo of his stomping steps was heard for a long, long while. But eventually calm and quiet returned to the hill. Mara gathered up her boy, and they gathered up a bunch of treasure and began the journey home under the moonlight, without saying anything. For you see, some journeys are just too big for words. From that night onward, Hollow Hill was safe for sheep and shepherds alike. But the villagers kept to the tradition of offering a bowl of milk each full moon, not out of fear, but out of respect. You see, the world beyond the hedgerow is big, and there are other ogres with teeth like boulders, and the villagers thought it best to be thought warmly even by those like them. The end. I hope you enjoyed this story tonight, and I hope you avoid many ogres in your travels. Good night.